For my next idea, adding dimension to your background, I used the Altenew Whimsical Bouquet 3D embossing folder, and I just embossed a piece of cardstock. I sprayed it first with a little bit of water, and I got a beautiful impression. And then I trimmed it down to a 4 by 5¼ panel. And all I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna cut it in 1/2-inch strips. So I'm gonna just cut it 3, 2½, 2, 1½, 1, and the 1/2-inch. And then this one I can add directly to the card front. I want to make sure I get them in order, so you have to just go through and line them up. And the reason I cut it in a little bit smaller than what I normally do is because, you know, we're going to have a little tiny bit of space. So I just want to make sure that it's going to fit. Okay, I'm going to take every other one. I'm not going to do one, let's see. If I do this 1, 2, 3, 4, well, one end is going to have the tape, so I will just do it here. And I'm going to just lay it out. Cut the amount I need. And then very carefully, I think it's going to be a little too thick for this. It'll work. A little bit shows here. So I'll just get rid of that. Okay. I'm going to glue, it's still stuck to my finger. I'm going to glue this one on first. So I use a liquid glue on the first one. This way it goes, yes. I'll put that right fairly close to the edge. And then I will do the one with the foam tape. And then I will line these up, making sure especially the bottom edge is level. Because that I can, if the top is too long or there's too much showing here, I can always trim that. But it's hard to trim. That's not it. I got these all mixed up now. This one's next. So this one will just be glue. Put that right down next to it. This one will be foam tape. Make sure you get it in the right direction. Lined up at the bottom, put it as close as you can. And the next one is here. we probably all use more glue than we actually need when we're applying it. I don't know why we do that, because it really doesn't take too much, but we just like to be sure that it's all covered. And then this one will be the tape. Do any of you bite your tongues while you're doing this? I bite my tongue all the time while I am trying to line something up or do precision work. I don't know why that happens. I'd love to know that I'm not the only one. Put that one down. And this one. And then last but not least, this last one. And there we have that. It's kind of a fun multi-dimensional card for the background. And we can add either just a simple sentiment, or if you had a matching kind of a rose or something, you could do that. So we will see what we come up with when I show you all the finished cards. So for this one, I cut the circles first, and then I will run it through the embossing folder to give it that dimensional look. I'm just going to place it, make sure that it's straight. And then I'll place it in my embossing folder just like that, and then run it through. If you emboss first and then try to die cut, like with the circles, then running it through the die cut after you have already embossed it smushes down the embossing. So if you're going to die cut an embossed image, it's better to die cut first and then emboss. So now I have these images embossed, and I can use these in the same way that I did excuse me, the other one. The other one I was able to emboss and then cut because I was using my paper trimmer. So that doesn't push down, but if I tried to put this through the embossing folder and then die cut it, then all of the embossing would kind of smush together. It would deflate. Here's just a little tip, because you can see I have some fibers in here. I just use an old nail, I don't know what's called, emery board kind of thing, a nail, whatever it is, and just go around the edges, and that definitely helps to clean up any of these hairs, these loose hairs that are here. And that'll work on any die. If it's intricate, it's a little bit harder, but for these where they've got a nice big edge, it's easy to just go in and clean them up. So when I took them apart, I wasn't really thinking. I had to really try to puzzle piece it back together so that all of these lines connect the right way and the petals connect the right way. So my suggestion to you is to make sure that you keep it in the direction that it needs to be. It'll save you some time. And I'm just going to go and blend over the back. Just a light moss is what I'm using. And then I will attach it to the cardstock. And I will make this one flat. Now you could choose to use double-sided tape, but I'm going to try it with the liquid glue. I'm just going to use more glue than I normally do. And then when you're doing something directly on the edge that matters most is the folded edge. So you want to be sure that that edge is straight, because you can always trim the other edges if they're showing a little bit, but you cannot trim the folded edge. So I wanted to make sure that my folded edge is nice and straight. Now I think because these are circular, I'm going to, I hope I didn't just mix this up. I'm going to use a thinner foam tape. I'm not going to use a 1/2 inch, I'm going to use the 1/4 inch. And there are a couple different ways you can do this. You can cut it in pieces and just put it around that way. Or you can take the backing off. I'm going to do a little at a time. And when you take the backing off, it allows the tape to bend it in a direction that you want it. With the backing on, it's not going to bend. So I just remove some of the backing at a time. And then you can bend that tape right into place without having to cut so many different pieces. And then it makes it a lot easier to remove that backing also, because it's just in one piece. All right, now I've moved that around a lot. So now I have to come back in and see. I'm gonna think it goes, nope. Does it go there? Actually, I think it does go there. I'm looking at, the first one I looked at was this diamond. Oh, and then this square will match up. The petals will match up. So I think we have that in the right spot. And then this one. And then again, I'm going to match up the square with the corner. And then that will line up. And this one I glue down. Keep it in place, just run my finger around there. And then for the last one, I can use a bigger tape. And then anything that's showing, I can just trim off. And then I can see that there are 2 tiny little petals there and almost a full flower here. So I'm gonna guess that's where that goes. I'm also lining up these etched lines. And you want to take the time to do it right to make it look cohesive. So there's another background that's just got a little bit of texture, a little more texture because it's the embossing folder plus the different levels that we've added. So this one I used the Altenew deck planks, and because there are already etched lines in here, I just cut across those lines and then I added every other one with the foam tape. So again, it's just a same technique, kind of the same way we did it before, but with a different embossing folder. So you can really use any folder you want, but I would suggest, trying to find a shape that coordinates with it. Like this one has the circles in here, so I thought having the circle shape would be good. And then this one with the planks, I like that shape. But certainly play around, and I can't wait to see what you come up with. And I hope you will add it to the group page. So to complete this card that has the embossing folder on the background, I decided to add this one flower from the Butterfly Ranunculus layering die set, and I cut it in white. I added a little bit of shimmer pen on here and just a simple sentiment. And I think that's all I'm gonna do. I've been playing with sequins, but I don't love sequins, so I think I'm gonna leave it like this for now. So that is how I finished this one. So here are the two cards that I made from those last backgrounds. This is the one with the circles. And I used the Dahlia April Heather layering die set. It's a craft a flower from Altenew with the fabulous keyhole system. And I cut both flowers, and then I decided this one I didn't want both of them on here because I wanted to keep the circles showing. So I just used the smaller one on here, and then I added the larger one on here, and I took the inside and I cut that twice, and I made 3 extra flowers just using the inside part of the flower petal. So that's another way to just stretch your supplies. Just use different pieces and make something else. And then I just added the sentiments on, and of course the embellishments.